record. And today's meeting is about 1099s, and specifically we'll touch on how the 1099 works, and then we're going to specifically and go more in depth on into the new service, electronic filing service that FBS has built into the program. So when you're talking about 1099s, the first thing you need to remember is that if you have somebody who you need to be sitting at 1099 at the end of the year, you need to make sure that in the vendor file that they are set as a 1099 vendor. And you can tell because under this 1099 SW column, it has an N or a Y. And if they have a Y in the column, that means they are set up as a 1099 vendor. So none of these vendors that have an N will be triggered for a 1099. Then, if you have a vendor who is tagged as a 1099 vendor, you have got to have, for the electronic filing to work, and really I think for any of the 1099 features, if you're going to even just print them out through FBS, you have to have their full address, which is their road, their city, their state, their zip, and a social security number in there. One of the other things that some people forget about here is under accounting general information, I apologize, wrong spot, set up general information. You want to make sure that you have your Social Security or your corporation's federal tax ID number in here, so that gets put on the 1099s correctly. Once you make sure that you have your vendors marked as 1099s, have their address and social security number on there, and have your federal tax ID number in there, you're ready to start looking at your 1099 report. And that's just under reports. And what you do is over here on the boxes, these boxes correspond to the boxes on the 1099s. So you do have to be familiar with which box you want your amounts to show up in. And then you put your range of ledger accounts in that box. So here, and I don't know the boxes that well. I'm not that familiar with them. So let's say box 1 was a box I would put my land rent in. I find my ledger account for land rent, and I put that in box 1. I'm not saying that's the right box, but for this demonstration, we're going to act like it is. I have my date range set for the entire year. I have my boxes set with the ledger accounts. The type here would be you choose either interest or miscellaneous income, and I'm going to choose miscellaneous. You choose if you're going to use what date cash exchange. I'm using entries in the time period. And the vendor name, on your setup for vendors, you have a company name and you have a contact name. And that's just asking which one you want on there. If you want the actual contact name listed if it's a company, if you want the actual contact name, or if you want the actual name of the vendor put in there. I guess I'll flip over this vendor setup just to kind of see what I mean here. So name is the actual name of the vendor. If I would have had, if this is a company I had contact, that vendor contact is the other one they're asking about. I usually always use the vendor name. The minimum amount for 1099, I'm not sure if that changes. I'm not that familiar with how often that changes, but make sure you have your threshold in there of what you want to put on there. I think it's usually $500 or $600. Then type of 1099 form. You have the options 1 or 2 are printing from your printer. So if you bought your 1099 forms and you're going to print them out, you have the option of individual form, or you have your continuous form if they're like attached to each other for like a dot matrix printer. And then you have this new option 3, which says Nelco file. And that Nelco file is the electronic filing option. Nelco is a company, the third-party company that we are using to electronically file our 1099s this year. And what that means is when we get into the, if you check that option, once you get into the filing, the report of the 1099, you have the option of sending that to NELCO, and they will automatically file that with state and federal, as well as email and mail that 1099 to your vendor for you. There is a fee for that, and then we'll talk about that a little bit more here in a bit. So that's what that third option, that NELCO option, is for, is that electronic filing. If you wanted to save your 1099 report and you weren't going to print it right away, you could put a check mark in that box to send to disk, and that just means it'll ask you where you want to save it at, and you can save that and send it to your accountant or have it to manually adjust if you need to. These blank lines to print and horizontal adjustment, or if you're printing them out using options 1 or 2 in the type of form, you use those to get it to match up to the boxes. And then the very last one there is your division range if you're only wanting to run for certain divisions. So I think I have everything set up like I want to, so I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Okay. So here we have my 2 vendors that fit the criteria on the previous page. And I have $100,000 for the Amborif, and I have $6,551 for Cantrell's. So that's the amount that will show up on our 1099. It'll print in box 1 for rinse. So I guess good on that. So that's good. So here's where I'm going to go now is if you had your paper and you chose in form 1 or 2, you'd have the option to print. I chose NELCO form, so I don't have a print button. I instead have send to NELCO down there at the bottom. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on that. And this is our electronic filing. And it brings up their website. Make it bigger. If it's your first time visiting here, you click on Create an Account, and you put in your information. I've already created an account. So I'm just going to log into it. Okay. Now, it's asking you what form you want to import. When you do this form, this NELCO option in FBS, it saves a file in your data folder with your company's 3 initials, and then it says NELCO after it. So I'm just going to click on Choose File. And I'm going to go to this is my data folder. My initials are DFF for this account, or this farm. I'm going to scroll down here. Okay. We have DFF underscore NELCO. It's dated 12/22 at 1:11. So that's the file I want. So I click on Open. And here's your option here. You have the option, you want to choose 1099s, but you do have some other options there as well. Click on Import. And it's reading my file. And so here it tells me it has my 2 vendors there that I was able to bring in, my Amborif and Cantrell. And we have an option for the federal e-filing recipients mail and online retrieval, or I could choose here just to click on federal e-filing, and you could not do the mailing and online retrieval, or I could choose just to do the mailing and online retrieval and not federal e-filing, whichever way I would like. This is not the live website since I'm showing a demo today, so That's why it shows 0 records right here, because I'm not actually filing anything today because it's a demo. So if I clicked on Next, you would see it put the what's in my cart, and that's the Cantrell 1099 miscellaneous, and it's charging me $4.99 for that. And I can click here and I can preview my form. A little PDF down here, so I'm going to open it up and I'm going to share this. And you should be able to see that. So here's my 1099. Tells who it's from, who it's going to, and the amount. And then the 1096. There. Back here. I go to my summary of the report. You print any of these off that you want for your records. You can also get a CSV option right here. If I click on Detail Report, it's a CSV file. Again, if it's just a different way to view it, you can see everything there. Okay, oops, sorry. Here we go. So it just has everything there that you can look through all that information if you like, and again, print that if you like. Oh, come on. First, minimize. Oh, I'm sorry, you didn't see that CSV. I apologize. Let me see that. There's that CSV. It's just a very basic form here. Okay. Once you have items in your cart, if you have, if you had multiple companies that all have different tax ID numbers that you need to file 1099s out of, I could I have what my DFS company here in the cart. I could go back out to the form submittal page, and import a new file from another company, and it would show in a separate section. And I could do that for however many companies you have, and then all at once, check out all at once and send them all at once at the very end. So you don't have to put in your credit card information multiple times if you have multiple companies. But you have to at least have everything to the cart before you go back and import a second company's data. Okay. I click on Next. And here I was going to ask for some credit card information. And there's no check or PayPal option. It's all credit card information here. I'll put in my test stuff here. And it has all your information. You can edit things. You can edit your payment there. You can edit what's in your cart. And then I would click on Confirm and Submit. And it's thinking here. And it tells you it's successful. You can print this out. If you have any problems, you're going to need this page printed out because it's going to ask you what your confirmation number was. So you need this page if you have any questions later on that you have to call us or the company with. It gives you some tips down here, what you're required here. Oh, the state filing, something I didn't mention back on the state filing page. Illinois doesn't require a state filed copy, and mine were Illinois, so it didn't show up. But if your state requires it, it will automatically detect the state and know that. And then I've also been told that several states offer additional backup information for 1099s, and it recognizes those states and will ask you for that additional information to be put in so it can be filed. So that's all an option there when you have those states. Here, so it's gonna, if you put in an email address, it skipped over that page because I already had it in there, and I apologize for not showing that. It does have a place, though, that you can put in the email address for, like I had Cantrell Farms, so if I had an email for them, I could have put that in. but then if you don't want an email copy, it won't email it. But if you have an email in there, it automatically emails that 1099 within, I think they said 36 hours to that person or to that company. At that time, they have an option to opt out of a mailed copy sent to them. But if they don't opt out of that, a mailed copy will automatically be mailed to them as well as the email copy. They can print off the email copy. It is a valid form. And then the other thing is when you post that you want to send the federal 1099 and e-file with a federal 1099, it also files your 1096 for you. So you don't have to worry about filing your 1096s. You can print off that copy for your records, but you don't have to file that either. It's all included in that cost. A couple of things here that we didn't go over is how the cost is. You saw I had one that was federally filed and 1099 sent to the vendor, and that cost me $4.99. But there is different options depending on how many, not different options, there are different price levels depending on how many you're sending. And that is all listed here on their website. And let me see here if I can find it. I found it earlier today. Okay, how much does it cost? I thought we'd get that. I'll try to find that pricing tier for you. How it works. Maybe it's the bottom down here. Maybe I didn't scroll down far enough. Yeah, here you are. Sorry. So here's your cost. 1 to 10 forms for the federal and the recipient delivery is $4.99 per form. If you went to 11, you just send it goes down to $4.50, and you can read down to over 1,000. It's only $1.40. If I had a state file, it would have went up to $5.49 a form. I didn't have a state, but if you do, it would go up to $5.49 a form. And then if you just wanted to do just the federal, it's $1.30 a form at the highest cost. Just state is $1.70, and recipient delivery is just $4.50 for your 1099s. Now, there, as you can see, these go down as you have more, and there's other options down here if you want to work with their company for these other options. The cost to use this through FBS, there is no cost from FBS to you to use this module. This module, if you have updated to 8.15, is there in demo mode right now. We're going to go live with it in the next, before the 31st of December, it will be live, a live website it goes to. But that's to create the report and to have access to this NELCO, this website, is free through FBS. The only thing you're paying is the cost here on this website to actually file the forms. And it's quick and easy, and it's done with right away. So I think that's all I had to really show right now. I'm anticipating some questions on it, so please feel free to ask questions at this time. Anybody?
Sarah, I don't have a question on this, but we received a CD. Do I need to download that on my computer since we're on the cloud?
No, you don't.
Okay, I'm glad I didn't then.
No, I'm not exactly sure why that got sent to you. They must have you marked incorrectly in our system because you should not have received that.
Okay.
Any other questions on anything with the 1099s, the report in FBS or the e-filing option now? Well, there's no questions. That does conclude my webinar. I did record it, so if anytime you want to go back over it, it will be available. We're putting those up on the website, so you can visit our website. If you need directions on where to find it on the website, please feel free to call or email me. But this will be available on the website, and otherwise, you guys all have a very Merry Christmas, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks. Thanks, Sue.
Bye-bye.